everyone! Welcome to Souped Up Recipes. Dumplings probably is the most popular Chinese food that everybody loves it. It is like the magic flavor pockets that it will be gone as soon as you put them on the table. I know it is time consuming to make dumplings at home, but there's nothing could taste better than homemade dumplings. So today, I'm gonna share you all my tips and tricks to show you how to make dumplings from scratch. So let's get started. First, let's make the dough. The type of flour you use is important. For making dumplings, you definitely want to use dumpling flour. We call it 高筋面粉. It is a type of wheat flour that contains a higher percent of protein compared to all-purpose flour. Protein is the thing that makes dumpling skin firm and great in texture. If you cannot find dumpling flour, you can use bread flour. Just check the protein content before picking a brand. This one, for every 31 grams of flour, contains 4 grams of protein, which equals 12.9%. Based on trying different types, this should be a good choice. If you can't even find bread flour, I have a trick. You can use all-purpose flour and add 2 eggs and water to the flour to make it higher in protein. I like to measure it together because each egg is different. Here is my suggestion. For every 400 grams of all-purpose flour, you will need 205 to 210 grams of the egg water mixture. Showing you all these, just want you to know what options do you have. I have dumpling flour today. Of course, I'm using that. Now you know the secret behind the perfect dumpling wrapper. We can get started. Measure out 400 grams of dumpling flour. Add half teaspoon of salt. Give it a mix. Then slowly pour in 200 to 210 grams of room temperature water. You need to slightly adjust the water amount depending on different types of flour. Use chopsticks to stir it while you're adding the water. When it looks like this, start gathering all the flour together and make it into a dough. Don't forget to scrape the edge of the bowl so you can get everything. Knead the dough until smooth. This is how I normally do. Use your body weight to press the dough. Grab the side of the dough that is further away from you, then fold that in half. Use your body weight to press it down again. Turn your dough at 90 degrees angle. Repeat this again and again. Cover it. Let it sit for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, knead it again. Dumpling wrapper is all about the bouncy, firm texture. Kneading is the most important part, so do your best. Cover it with a slightly damp towel and let it sit for 1 hour. While waiting, we can make the filling. Today, I am making my pork celery filling. It is very easy. You will need 350 grams of ground pork. I actually grind this by myself. Here is a story behind the scene. I wanted to buy a whole pork shoulder. I told the butcher to remove the skin, the bones, and grind half of the shoulder. He did it, but he let the meat go through the machine 3 times, so the ground meat ended up like a mushy paste. Therefore, I have to grind the other half of the shoulder by myself. Make sure you ask your butcher to only let the meat to go through the machine once, and you want a roughly ground meat, which will give your filling a great texture. Next ingredient, 200 grams of celery. It is better to use Chinese celery. But if you cannot find it, regular celery works good too. Half cup of diced scallion, 1.5 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1.5 tablespoon of oyster sauce, some garlic ginger puree. It is very easy to make. Just 3 slices of ginger, 2 cloves of garlic, and 2 tablespoons of water. Blend them together. You can use up to 1/3 cup of water depending on different types of dumplings. This is my secret weapon to make a juicy filling. 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, half teaspoon of salt, cracking 1 egg. Mix everything together. Get your hands in there and stir it within one direction for 6 to 8 minutes. This is the old traditional way that my grandmom taught me how to prepare the filling. She also told me to beat the filling. Grab a handful of filling and bring it to a high position. Use a lot of force to throw it back to the bowl. This is something that Chinese people have been doing for centuries. I don't know the science behind it, but it does help develop the texture and make a big difference. This is how I check if it is developed enough. Form the filling into a little hill and shake the bowl quickly. You see how the meat is swaying. I don't know how to describe that, but if it looks like that, the filling is good to go. Filling is what makes the variation of the dumplings. I have a video about 5 delicious fillings you must try. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. Okay, let's set this in the fridge and we will take a look of our dough. It should be more soft and pliable. Now it is the time to divide it into many small and even pieces. There are a lot of recipes that tells you to roll the dough into long strips and then divide it. Today, I will show you an amazingly simple way to do that. Put your dough on the cutting board and sprinkle some flour to prevent stickiness. Flatten the dough with your hand. Roll the dough with a rolling pin and get it into thick pieces. Then cut it into thick strips. Make sure you move the strips to let the cut surfaces face up and down so they don't stick to each other. I like to use something to measure it so the strips turn out with a same thickness. Once you finish that, line them up together and sprinkle some flour on the top to prevent stickiness. Cut it into small pieces. Use something to measure it as well. It doesn't matter the length and the width, as long as the dough pieces are all the same size. I normally don't use a scale, but if you ask, I would say each dough pieces should be about 11 to 12 grams. Turn the cut surfaces again so they face up and down. You do want to use a lot of flour here so they don't stick to each other. These are uneven pieces that I picked out. You can knead them together and reuse it or just discard it. Up to you. Look at that. You don't need a scale and you got them perfectly done. Cover it with a slightly damp towel and we can start making the dumplings. Take one piece and flatten it by your hand. We are going to roll it into a round wrapper. This is how I do it. Left hand holds and turns the dough. Right hand rolls it. Forward, back. Keep repeating this and you will get a round wrapper with thick middle and thin edge. The size can be big or small, depends on how big dumplings do you want to make. You could buy pre-made dumpling wrappers, but trust me, homemade is way better in texture. Take some filling, put it on the wrapper. I use about 1 tablespoon. I will show you an easy way to wrap the dumplings. Fold the wrapper in half and pinch it a little bit. Push both sides toward to the middle and seal the edge. Reinforce it just to make sure they won't open when cooking. That's it! It's really easy and it looks lovely. You just keep doing that and finish the rest. This recipe is enough to make about 50 to 60 dumplings. If you can't finish eating them all in one time, you can freeze them before cooking. They taste amazing even after frozen. You can boil them, steam them, or some other fancy ways. I am going to pan fry them today, which is my favorite way to cook dumplings. You want to use a heavy-duty pan. Add some oil, toss it around so the oil covers the bottom. We're gonna use medium heat to do this. The oil will start heating up while you're adding the dumplings. When you fill up the pan completely, you should be able to hear the sizzling. Wait for a minute or two. Add 1/3 cups of water. Cover it. Let it cook until the water is gone. My lid doesn't seal well. If your lid can be completely sealed, do leave a small gap to let the steam come out. This will take about 5 to 8 minutes. Once all the liquid is evaporated, check the bottom to see the color. Look at that, beautifully golden brown. What I like to do is flip all the dumplings to the other side and slightly fry it a little more so both sides are crispy. Plate them up and serve with your favorite dipping sauce. They are so delicious. The skin has great texture which you will never get from those pre-made wrappers. It's so crispy and I want you to hear this. That sounds amazing, right? It is also extremely juicy. You see how that juice just splashed out of the dumpling immediately? That is how it gets my shirt. I end up ruining my white t-shirt when taking the first bite. If you're drooling all over the screen, go give this a try. If you like Chinese food, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episode.